Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You may know me as the Grimm's List or the Grim Reaper. Today, we're going to be talking about my suspension and why I think Twitter has messed up throughout this entire time. So, on Twitter, often there are a lot of people known for edgy humor, and they have been able to manage to get through Twitter, which is fine for the extent, right? But when it comes to my humor and thing like that, I don't have much of an edgy humor. Perhaps maybe a little bit, but not to the full extent as a lot of YouTubers or a lot of Twitter user. I know this isn't exactly what got my account locked or suspended, but I still feel it's a good idea to understand the idea of where mass report or anything like that can happen. And it's just the idea that people can break the rules and not get caught over this, even though it's absolutely obvious and it's right there in your face. Twitter hasn't done anything about it, even if I reported it for mass reporting me. In case you don't notice, this is a zoophile who basically is attracted to animals, and I was basically making memes and jokes and trolling the dude, calling him out for being a zoophile, and obviously he then got really upset that then he decided to try to mass report me. Now, of course, I did report him, but this reason is because he tried to mass report me. And I need to make sure I keep myself safe from a lot of these people that try to mass report me. And I don't know who is going to mass report or not, but all I know is that there are some people who do tend to mass report me. So I try my best not to report anything because I don't feel it's always necessary to just report anyone unless if actually have real evidence and factual evidence. But even then, Twitter doesn't do much about them. Even if somehow you call out the zoophile who actually admit to having sex with animals, Twitter doesn't tend to do much about it unless if they're very descriptive. But even then, they have like tons of animal pornography and things like that. Like, it's insane sometimes. And even if you try to tell Twitter you don't want to see those images, Twitter doesn't do anything about that. They just keep leaving it there like nothing ever happened. And they're not sexualizing animals or anything like that. It's really weird. Alright, so now here is the first time I was locked from my account. The reason behind it was because I said I hope you fall off a cliff. Alright, I'll be honest, there was two other tweets that got me locked from my first. So, as well as there was one that you already saw, there's two other ones that I was locked from. Which I guess I can kind of understand where Twitter was coming from in this part. My response was, how about you just jump off a cliff? That seems to make peace, pathetic zoophile. Another reason for you to jump off the cliff, Lamio. Alright, so now that you know a little bit of information, was this one worth getting locked from? I guess you can say that this was understandable. I can understand a little bit more on this part. But Twitter afterwards starts to get a little more weird after a while towards my account. So obviously I did say jump off a cliff. I mean, it can seem as edgy. But you also have to understand that these are zoophile, people who are attracted to animals. Yes, attracted to animals. And don't forget that there's a lot of people with edgy humor that have that type of humor. The difference though is I actually had humor like this that was to call out the zoophile on their BS that they need to be called out on. Now, is it really a good thing that I was locked? Not really. I mean, I get where Twitter was coming from, but at the same time, if you're allowing people to say you want to gas Jews and things like that, and you're not going to lock their account, then why are you locking my account? I'm literally doing the world a favor by calling out zoophile. So why am I getting called out on this by Twitter that what I do is wrong, but what they do is okay, and it's enough for them to be locking my account for. So unfortunately, I didn't screenshot the next one, but this did happen on my backup account, and I still don't agree with it. Apparently, my profile picture and my background on Twitter was considered adult content, yet the zoophile are able to post pornography all the time and get away with it, but all I had was my PFP and my background to be completely locked from my account just because of my PFP and my background. So you think Twitter can't get any worse? Well, actually, you will be mistaken, because the next one is even worse. And here is why I think it's worse. For one part, this specific person literally admit to having sex with their own dog, which is literally considered raping. Which you may agree or not on Twitter's case, but at the same time, this is what is, and it is proven that it is considered to be the R word, alright? So, of course, Twitter was being a little more stupid in this part. Here is a little bit of a proof. I have a home, money, a dog wife, food, health, etc. I got everything I need. I don't need anything else in life, so why would I need help when I don't need anything? Marrying a dog is not a crime published by jail, and why would I deactivate my account? Delusional much? I have a dog that will blank me, so I don't need to blank myself. Winky face. So as you see what I read, he basically admits to having sex with his own dog. And he did admit it multiple times on his tweet. Thankfully, this account was suspended. However, this didn't stop from my account being locked. This was the reason I was locked from my account. STFU, STFU, STFU. You rape your dog. So of course, after a while, I had to deal with this 12-hour long thing going on. And then later on, I decided to call out lolicons. People who are attracted to lolicon. So apparently there was an image I posted. I forgot what image, but it didn't show exactly on Twitter. But all you need to know is I was locked for 12 hours. And basically it was me showing an image, basically calling them out that you're still a P word. Anyways, you can debate whatever you want on this part, but I mean, the idea is that I was still locked from my account, not knowing what image locked me. So they never actually showed the image I was locked from. Now, the last part that I actually was completely suspended isn't actually what you may think. Surprisingly, this wasn't to do with lolicon or zoophile. Surprisingly, this had to do with Keyful stands. Yes, Keyful stands got me my entire account suspended. Now, the issue I have with Keyful stand is they tend to react very quickly and start calling people transphobic even if they aren't. Anyone who disagrees with Keyful stands, you're automatically a transphobe. And they will call you a bias, they'll call you racist, even though nothing has to do with anything you just said. So of course, I ended up making a joke to piss them off because they seemed to got irritated by the word, the R word, not the RAPE word, but retard. They actually were so furious at me for calling them that. That is the reason I got suspended. Why are you spursing? Take a chill pill, Keyful Stan. You are acting a little retarded. So then later I decided to try to get myself unsuspended from Twitter. I tried everything to get myself unsuspended. And nothing actually worked. I was actually really disappointed in Twitter. And I almost lost my entire hope on this, on having hopes to get out of the suspension. Now, you might be wondering how I actually was able to get unsuspended if most things didn't work. Well, surprisingly, I hated to do this, but this was my only option. So I decided to tell Twitter that I do fall on a category of disability and autism. So that is the only reason they unsuspended my actual account, which is very strange. This would also explain why Kiefel's tends to use trans as a shield so she could get away with a lot. Which meaning that if you say that you are trans, you have a disability, this is the only way you can get away with the consequences. Which in my opinion, I still disagree with that, but it's kind of stupid. But I guess it kind of makes sense where it is coming from, but at least now I know where Twitter is coming from. It is still not justifiable for Twitter to do this, but it is what it is. Also, another important thing to note, I am still suspended in my backup account because it was considered ban evading. Even though I wasn't ban evading in the first place, just made an extra account as my backup in case if Twitter decided to be stupid and lock my account for 12 hours, so then I could go on the other one for a bit and then go back to the other one. But even then, sometimes I did use my backup account just randomly, just for fun, because sometimes I like to use my backup account. But I will say this, I wasn't able to make another account because every time I did make another account, I was always ban evading every time. So I wasn't able to actually get another account as my backup because Twitter just really didn't want to let me make a different account. Even with a different email, they still use that and they seen my full name, so they probably ended up suspending it every time I would make one. And even if I didn't, they still found a connection to it, so they still suspend any account I made. So, unfortunately, all the accounts that I ever made are all suspended, besides my main. But you do gotta remember that the Grimm's List backup account wasn't used to ban evade, and that was still suspended, which is very stupid in my opinion. And I didn't get it because this wasn't used for the reason of suspension. I mean, sure, it could be used for in case I was suspended, trying to fix the other account and trying to figure it out. But it wasn't actually used to do the same thing because I have two accounts that I normally use often. One I don't use as often as my main, and my main account, which most of you guys all know. But unfortunately, Twitter doesn't really like me that much, probably, for all I know. Because I've seen a lot of people making different accounts all the time, and they were able to get through it, but I'm not able to get through it. Somehow Twitter managed to find every single account of mine. So they find every one of them, even if they're not connected. Even if their entire email is completely different. So it wouldn't matter no matter what I did, I was always suspended. Anyways, if you like this video, like, subscribe for more, and if you can, please share it. And if you don't, Twitter will suspend you.
I'll be back. Hasta la vista, baby.
Love y'all and peace out.